On June 9, 1975, at the old BC Penitentiary in New Westminster, British Columbia, 15 prison staff were taken hostage by 3 of the most notorious and dangerous inmates, Andy Bruce, Dwight Lucas, and Claire Wilson. After 41 hours, the incident ended on June 11th at 1 a.m. when prison guards stormed the administration building and shot and killed classification officer Mary Steinhauser. A bullet had penetrated her heart. Dennis Neveu was an inmate in the BC Penitentiary on June 9, 1975. He lived and did time with the hostage takers. He also worked closely with Mary Steinhauser as a member of the Community Awareness Group. Dennis was an eyewitness to many of the events leading up to the shooting. In addition to this, Dennis occupied a cell that looked directly down to the classification building, and he saw and he heard.
I lived in a cell block called B7, which faced the river, which is where the administration building was. My cell was one of a few that could see right down to the administration building without it being obstructed by these big slabs of concrete that was in between the windows. There was only 5 of us that could see right down there. When the hostage taking occurred, it was our job to inform the rest of the population of what was going on. And we did this by hollering from one cell block to the next. And we did this for 2 days, right up to the point of the hostages, the shots being fired. I know of the hostility that the guards had towards Mary Steinhauser. They talked about her like she was some con to be dealt with. I mean, they continuously conspired to have her out of the institution. I'll give you an example of the animosity the guards had towards Mary Steinhauser. I worked in the dental lab in the main hall, right next to the security office. And on this particular day, when I went to work, I noticed the guards all huddled together outside the bulletin board. And when I got closer, they all turned and looked at me, see me coming down the hall, and they all pulled away from the bulletin board. And as I got closer, I could see a rather large poster, a drawing of a woman on her knees, depicting her about to perform oral sex on an inmate. Above her head was the words written, Mary Steinhauser, the con lover. Above the inmate was piece of shit con. And they all burst out laughing when they'd seen that I'd registered, that I'd seen what the drawing was about. I remember walking into the dental lab shaking my head with disbelief that they were being that blatant about their animosity and the hate that they had towards her.
The federal government immediately held an inquiry under the provision of the Penitentiary Act.
Day 2 of the inquiry saw Vancouver Courthouse, where hearings opened yesterday. The 3-member commission took a familiarization tour of the BC Penitentiary, where the hostage drama began just over a week ago.
Chief Justice Ferris of the British Columbia Supreme Court was appointed and began the hearing on the 16th of June, only 1 week after the hostage-taking. The Ferris Commission concluded that the responsibility for the death of Mary Steinhauser was both that of the tactical squad and that of inmate Andy Bruce, but that the tactical squad was justified in their actions since they were doing their duty in trying to save Mary Steinhauser's life. The publication of the Ferris Report in Ottawa on the 13th of July, 1976, was an anticlimax. It was received with very mixed reactions. A member of Parliament, John Reynolds, called it a whitewash and a cover-up. The coroner's reaction was also unfavorable.
Most of the hostages refused to give testimony in public. The reasoning was that they were in fear of their lives and the security of their jobs. What does that mean, in fear of their lives and security of their jobs? Why would they be in fear of their lives if they told the truth at the commission? Well, let's look at that. They just killed one of their co-workers. Now that is something to be fearful about. And that's why there was no finger pointing towards the guards, because they were too fearful to do so. Let's review the shooting of Mary Steinhauser for a moment. The guard was so close to Mary when he shot her, she had powder burns on her clothing. That's from me to you. That's only within a few feet. You point your gun at someone. You pull the trigger. The gun kicks in your hand. The person that you're shooting at is kicked back violently from the impacts of the bullets and lands on the floor, and you're standing there with a smoking gun. You just shot someone. Then he takes all the revolvers from all the other guards and wipes all the fingerprints off them, and takes it a step further and wipes all the shell casings and the bullets so that there's no fingerprints whatsoever of any of the guards on the weapon. Why would you do that? That's an act of a guilty person, of a person that just shot and killed somebody deliberately, and he's trying to cover up the fact that he did so. There has never been any question, in my mind, most certainly, and in anyone else's mind that was doing time in the penitentiary at that time, that Hollinger is the one that killed Mary Steinhauser. No question whatsoever.
On November the 2nd, 2003, 28 years after the hostage-taking, Mr. George High, a paramedic who was on scene at the hostage-taking, gave his first-hand account. In a Sunday special of the province newspaper, he was quoted as saying, "There is no question in my mind that Mary Steinhauser was purposely shot."
I'm reading the paper and I see a statement in the paper about Mary Steinhauser where this paramedic has come forward by the name of George High, who swears that he clearly heard a guard holler out, "Kill her, kill her." He says it was said very loudly and very distinctly. There was no mistaking in it. Kill her, kill her. Shortly after, the shots were fired. Why did this paramedic not come forward all those many years ago? He says that at first he was sure that he was going to be called to the inquest, but he wasn't. Then he was reluctant to say anything because he was effectively gagged as a government employee. So he didn't say anything. Nobody wanted to hear his story. Now here's a man who was right there, involved in the farces that was going on, because he's the one that went to Mary Steinhauser and discovered that she'd been shot and killed. That puts him right there at the scene of the crime. This man was never questioned by the police, and he was never asked to go in front of the commission so that he could say what he heard or saw. What did you see? What did you hear, Mr. High? Mr. High, at that time, would have been able to say, "I heard clearly someone holler out, 'Kill her, kill her.' That's what I heard." That would have changed the whole course of that inquest. That would have lent credibility to the fact that Mary Steinhauser was deliberately shot and killed, and she was shot and killed by Hollinger. Why did he shoot and kill Mary Steinhauser? Because he was given the command to do so. Kill her, kill her. Who gave this command? Nobody seems to know. There's reference to a person in civilian clothing that burst in when things were happening in the vaults, burst into the waiting room where the guards were and hollered to them, "Go, go, go, it's going down, go now." They all stormed out of the and tore down to the hostage unit. The man in civilian clothing followed. He's the one that hollered out the command. "Kill her, kill her." Who was this guy? Nobody knew. Nobody had never came out to the inquest of who this character was. When High heard the command and the shots were fired, just before the shots were fired, we clearly heard, we never heard the command. What we did hear, just before the shots were fired, Mary Steinhauser heard the command, and this is why she hollered out. It was a scream of sheer terror that none of us that heard it will ever forget. Don't shoot, don't shoot. It was like, oh my God, don't shoot, don't shoot. She knew that she was about to be shot and killed because she heard the command to do so. Kill her, kill her.
After 38 years, the hostage-taking and the shooting and killing of Mary Steinhauser still haunts Dennis. Dennis has written a play entitled The Night of the Howling Dogs. His play is a recreation of one of the most dramatic hostage-takings in Canadian penitentiary history.
I've been writing this play for 4 years. It's taken me that long. I've been asked many times, well, why? Why are you going through all that effort and all that time to write this play? Because Mary Steinhauser was a somebody. She was a beautiful human being, and they treated her like garbage, and they killed her. She is a woman that has affected me that much that I invested that much time of my life, because I could never forget that scream of don't shoot, don't shoot. And knowing full well that she was deliberately shot and killed has been haunting me for years. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that was there at the time. Mary Steinhauser was a very beautiful person, and she did not deserve to be shot and killed like a friggin' dog in the street. And they killed her, deliberately. I encourage anyone that has heard me explaining about the story of Mary Steinhauser to read my play. It will blow you away. But I'm telling you, it's based on a very dramatic and true story. The language and the violence is very graphic, but very real. It occurred. My goal for writing this play was to rekindle public awareness of the fact that Mary Steinhauser was deliberately shot and killed, not by accident like the Ferris Commission made out to be, but deliberately. And it is also my hope that a hostage, a prison guard, a paramedic that was there at the time and sees this video will come forward like Mr. High did and have the courage to say what they had seen or heard at that time. Mr. High was not the only person that heard the command. He said, it was said very loudly and very distinctly, kill her, kill her. Mary Steinhauser heard the command. Others heard the command as well. And, like Mr. High, it is my hope that you'll come forward and get that off your chest and let the public know the truth of what happened to Mary Steinhauser. That is my goal.